The day the towers were hit, I knew it was my American duty. At 16 years old, I had to do everything I could to get on the battlefield as quick as possible to get payback for America and protect what I love.
Over 2 tours of Afghanistan, I cemented my patriotism and my commitment to my country. And that's where I found my sense of belonging and my sense of commitment to, all things that are great in America.
I just think of myself as an American who loves this country, who's willing to put my life on the line for it, and I just feel it like it's the right thing to do.
Purple Heart, Good Conduct Medal, National Defense Medal, Iraq Campaign Medal, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal.
What exactly do we have to lose in this election?
I think there's everything to lose if Vice President Biden became President of America.
This election in particular is going to impact veterans once again, and it's life or death.
If we decide wrong, we risk everything. If we make the right decision, I think we'll be on the right trajectory.
We've constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion.
You keep talking about all these things you're going to do and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago and you guys did nothing.
What made you want to join the military in the first place?
Yeah, love of country, pride before self. I forewent my entire senior year of high school, possible scholarships in sports. I gave it all up, for the love of my country, and I had to definitely go back and get some retaliation and protect what I believed in, America after September 11th happened.
So you would say 9/11 was a catalyst for your service?
100%. 9/11 happened. The towers were hit. I was sitting in world history class when that happened. And at Oshkosh North High School, I ran downstairs and couldn't ask my guidance counselor fast enough what I had to do to graduate that year. Ended up graduating high school. Like I said again, I graduated when I was 16. 2 days later, I turned 17, and that's the day I signed. My parents showed up to the recruiting office and signed the permission slip for me to join.
Tell me about where things started going wrong, how you got injured, and what happened when you came back.
So, I don't ever really talk about the instance.
Before the military, I actually started off in down South Virginia, where I was raised in Portsmouth with a family, my mother, my father, divorced family, obviously. But I spent a lot of time on the streets, and a lot of part of my development in my youth time, I spent a lot of time surviving and running from gangs and so forth. So it was a very tumultuous time for me before the military. And then 17, I decided to join and serve my country. In 2015, I was afforded the opportunity to get assigned to Fort Benning, Georgia. In Fort Benning, Georgia, that's where I did my basic training. After completion of basic training, I went on to advanced individual training in the Fort Gordon Signal Center of Excellence. And I completed that training, and then I went on to my unit assignment, which is Fort Drum, 10th Mountain Division.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your day-to-day experience over there and why it was so jarring?
Sure. So at the time, I don't think I understood that I was being exposed to certain things that were abnormal. Bombs going off, being in my office where a bomb went off a mile out and the window shattered, for example. Being in convoys, 3 a day in terms of convoys, expecting bombs or IEDs to go off was very normal. While living and sleeping in my B-hut with my team and unit, we had to use 550 cord, which is a cord that has effectively 550 pounds of strength, because people were coming in the middle of the night and killing soldiers or doing other things to soldiers at the time that I was there.
Can you tell us what your lowest point looked like returning from service? Tell me about your friend. What happened there?
So, my friend Ty, like so many of our brave servicemen, served a few tours overseas, and he came back, worked as a civilian, And right at about the 7-year mark, he noticed that something wasn't right. He spun himself in a deep depression, and when he went to seek help from the VA, they were quick to prescribe him an opioid. I'm just thankful that Ty has that story, and he knew that that wasn't for him. He knew that there had been issues with some of his brothers who had grown addicted. He ended up having to find a doctor in the private sector, but the saddest part of that, Blake, is that he had deserved quality care for what he had done and for his service. It just wasn't available.
Is drug addiction an epidemic among veterans?
It is. It absolutely is. And it breaks my heart because these are men and women who put their lives on the line. They deserve better care. They deserve better solutions. Writing a script is not going to solve the problems that they have.
So, I don't ever really talk about the instance out of respect for those that never came home. I don't want to glorify it. One thing that I can say is, a blast happened. I was wounded. I was able to finish my Marine Corps career honorably and get out. When I came back, it led me to severe depression. It led me to alcoholism. I became addicted to drugs. And, I wasn't able to get the proper medical care at the VA. I ballooned up. I was kind of chasing answers in the bottom of fast food bags, and I was eating fast food, and I goof around and I say I was self-sponsored by Burger King. Why? Because I was eating so much of it, and I was literally killing myself with food, as well as drinking and using narcotics. So it led me to, hitting my bottom, living in my car, popping pills and doing narcotics and drinking daily, just godly amounts of alcohol. All because I wanted to drown out the memories. I didn't want, survivor's guilt's real. And, just why me, why them, not me, why am I here, why aren't they here?
Living that reality every day in the war, I don't think I was processing it as a civilian. I was processing it as a war fighter. Coming back to the United States, there were things that I would do, like sleep with weapons in certain places, under the pillows, under the bed, in the rooms. I retrofitted my entire apartment so that I could have access to weapons at any given moment of time. I had to barricade my doors, multiple different things to adjust to normal life. So my second tour from Afghanistan, I was going through a divorce. So I was a victim of all things military, too committed to the mission in some regard. And I gave up my family for the country. While I deployed to Afghanistan, my family was moving back home. Then when I returned back from Afghanistan, I returned back to an empty house, nothing in it. And I'd served my country proudly and will do it again and continue to do it. But I've sacrificed for my country, not just potential life, but also families, because of my commitment being what it is and what I know the threats are out there. But I did sacrifice a tremendous amount to even talk about what we're talking about today.
One day I decided that that was the day I was going to end it all, and I was going to ride it till the wheels fell off, and there was no stopping me. I went out that day, and I bought enough narcotics for what I thought was going to kill me. I ended up getting narcotics from a unknown informant for police who turned me in. Unfortunately, he turned me in kind of on time, but not really on time, to the point where I was able to ingest these narcotics and this alcohol and more or less have a semi-successful attempt at killing myself, to the point where cops busted in the door and were able to save my life. I came to at the medical facility in San Diego with police standing around me, and there's a DEA agent standing right next to me. And I'll never forget this agent. He looks at me, he pulls up his sleeve, and there's a Marine Corps tattoo. And he goes, "What in the world are you doing?" And I looked at him, and I was like, "Wait, what?" And he goes, "Why would you do that to your brothers, dude?" Woo. That hit the heart.
So, mentally, I was more fit for the war and not fit for the United States in terms of rehabilitation. Things that my behaviors have changed dramatically, and, experiencing violent tendencies, wanting to pursue what I thought were threats. So the rehabilitation back to the United States, everything was continuous war for me, and that's what I exhibited. So mentally, I was not ready to come back to the United States. I was ready to stay in the war and deploy those type of behaviorisms to effectively go after the threat.
What saved your life?
What saved my life is honestly the power of prayer, the people around me, the belief that my brothers have my back. I got a tattoo down my back after my attempted suicide of all 19 members of my battalion that were killed in action. And that tattoo symbolizes to me that they'll always have my back as I always have their back. Carrying their names with me daily is a daily reminder that I need to push forward. That's a 100% life-saving opportunity I can never live down.
Looking back, is there anything you would change about your military experience? Is there anything you would do differently?
I wish I could have done more to help some of my brothers that didn't make it. I wish I could have done, these, what ifs are always in your head. But at the end of the day, I wish I could go back and continue serving to this day with my brothers on my left and my right.
What do you want for the future of this country?
I want this country to stay amazing. I want my daughter and my daughter's kids and her kids' kids to have, the freedom that I enjoy every day, and to be able to walk around unobstructed and be able to enjoy the freedoms that I protected and my brothers laid down their lives for. So the rules of engagement under the Bush and Cheney administration were very loose. They allowed the U.S. troops to really take the fight to the enemy and do offensive measures and really, protect our allies overseas. Unfortunately, when, there were casualties, they happened, but they were, Bush personally took those very serious. Under the Obama-Biden administration, he came in, and when Obama and Biden had come into office, they changed the rules of engagement, completely tightening them, putting more or less essentially handcuffs on the U.S. troops. There was over 1,758 deaths and over 18,000 wounded in action after this change of rules of engagement under the Obama-Biden administration. So when President Trump came into office, to this date, thus far, there's only 63 deaths and 452 injuries overseas serving with the new rules of engagement that President Trump basically went back to the Bush administration rules of engagement.
This evening, as millions of families sit down at their dinner tables back home, they'll be saying a prayer for the men and women serving our nation. Each of you came to do your duty. You came to defend American liberty. You came because our nation needed you, and they needed you right here.
Just in the last 4 years, President Trump has done more for the veteran community than Obama and Biden administration did in 8 years. Whether it be the, DOD, the VA, policy, reform, budget legislation, everything, it just helps the things he's done to further positivity for the veteran community through the VA, through health care that we deserve, it shows the American people that President Trump can further do so much more in another 4-year term. And my brothers and sisters, veterans that I speak to daily, 100% support another term of Trump with Pence, pushing forward for veterans and making the VA that much more accountable and holding their, kind of toes to the gridiron, saying, look, you need to give these veterans the right health care. If Vice President Biden became president, everybody that I know personally in the veteran community is deathly afraid that it backslides to the Biden-Obama era of their 8 years and, basically cutbacks, pullbacks of the VA, pullbacks of the, DOD, the VA, the everything. It's scary to think about. It's scary to us because of how much forward progress we've had. If we backslide, what could another 8 years do with backsliding even worse? We don't even want to think of what could happen. We want to look forward for positivity and the right health care, mental health care, everything that veterans need within the VA and the DOD.
So lives are at risk.
I believe that lives are at risk if Biden would become president, yes.
So considering your experience as a veteran and what you know being a part of a military family, this is a life or death situation.
Absolutely. What I have seen also with this administration, with the Trump administration, is that he has made leaps and bounds. And I want to continue to see that for the next 4 years. It was encouraging to meet people who I knew did not have the same political affiliation as I did, or even supported the president. I talked to a lot of veterans who may have not been Trump supporters when he was first elected in 2016. But then you talk to them about veterans' choice and the fact that they had access to their own doctors 3 times a year. That was huge. And that made such an incredible impact on veterans. And veterans now are proud to support this administration because they recognize they have a president that really does care about them.
He sees the issues that face veterans right now.
Absolutely. These are things that he said he was going to shake up when he was running as a candidate in 2015, and veterans recognize that he does say what he's going to do.
If the Biden-Harris administration wins in 2020, are we at risk of losing the resources veterans have right now?
I do believe that the country, most importantly, veterans will be at risk if the Biden-Harris administration is in the White House in 2021. Like I said, we had a president, we had an administration that wasn't afraid of the bureaucracy and was willing to make the changes that needed to be done. This is a man who had never dealt with veteran services. And I appreciate the fact that I feel that the Trump administration cared more about our veterans than Joe Biden did in 47 years of his service.
As a member of one of our incredibly valuable military families and a veteran yourself, what can you say to the American people about what's at stake in the 2020 presidential election?
Blake, we can't afford to have Joe Biden win. If he does, the lives of so many veterans are at stake. I don't want to see another one lost.
Did Vice President Biden do anything for veterans, anything for the welfare of veterans during his 47 years of service?
It's an interesting question. I'm sure he's done something for the veteran community. I don't think anybody could say that he hasn't. But I think when you weigh the pros and cons of what his administration and the Obama administration has done for the veterans, again, restating the point of the rules of engagement, micromanaging military decisions, the wait times with the VA, and the many soldiers, my brothers and sisters, that have died on the battlefield and off the battlefield, and then to include their spouses and their children who were impacted by the Obama administration, I would largely say that the scales of justice are unequivocally unbalanced, if you will. So I would say if I had to make a decision, I would say the Obama administration did a poor job with making sure that the U.S. veterans were taken care of from the beginning of their career and then effectively transitioning out.
So there's a dangerous consequence to the presidential election this year.
A tremendous. Without any thought in my mind, I'm 100% sure that under the president that we currently have, which is Donald Trump, that we will be more in a position to empower our military leadership to make the decisions they need on the battlefield, and then we would have more of a focus on the veterans' affairs to make sure that our VA, the patients, being the war fighters and the veterans and their families, have a path forward so they can rehabilitate back into the American dream.
How do you get the Purple Heart?
So the Purple Heart is received by troops or soldiers, Marines, sailors that are wounded in action due to enemy combative actions. So some people are shot, some people are blown up, some people get hit, ambushed, and it's something that, it's prideful to me. When I wear my Purple Heart, it's something I wear with a deep, deep heart, and I wear my Purple Heart as a way to pay homage to my brothers that never came home.
You know you've made them really proud, right?
I'm here every day doing what I can, and I do everything for my brothers that never came home, my brothers that are here, my sisters that are here. I want to make America amazing, keep America amazing, and make sure that for generations to come, every veteran that is serving, is going to serve, or will serve, can have just an amazing experience and prosper.
David died after losing a battle with demons that unfortunately defeated him for the first time. One of the strongest people I knew. I knew he overcame a lot, was over a year sober, and unfortunately the demons came back, and this time he wasn't strong enough.
David Perez was my friend. He was an Army veteran during the Iraq War. He had a lot of demons of his own that we talked about together as veterans. And he was trying to make the world a better place.
David Perez was a colleague and friend of mine, and I honestly didn't know him as long as well as the many other people who are mourning this loss, but I'm going to do my best. His heart was not for himself, it was for others. And another project he did back in March or April, he hosted a food drive at a local shelter, and he spent hours and hours out in the cold collecting items, collecting food for people who needed it because of the pandemic.
Got a phone call from James, who started our company, and he said, "Ryan, I have some bad news."
David was down in Florida trying to make the world a better place on a political campaign. He had a really bad week, and we tried to help him through that, tried to get him home. One Friday I quit hearing from him, didn't pay much attention to what was going on, just assumed that he was going to be home on Sunday. Then Sunday morning I got a call from a close friend of ours, and when I heard that he passed, I wasn't surprised. I was really sad.
He said David passed away, and it didn't really make sense to me.
I was really shocked, is the first thing.
And everything stopped. It was so sudden, and I started the process of grief later on that day, and David would probably tell me to get over it, but it's very difficult. it's hard to get over it.
I miss my friend. And we lose too many friends. And we need to make sure that doesn't happen anymore.
There's a void in all of our hearts and a void in this world now because David Perez is gone. And we need to honor his memory by resembling his tenor and by expressing his love to everyone we meet.
We always had in our evening calls. I think the best thing I could give an idea of as far as who David is in our evening calls every night. What started out as a joke from David became something that he said almost every night, which was he'd always end the call with, "All right, guys, love you." David Perez is the guy that says "love you" at the end of the call, and that's how I'd want to remember David. That's how David should be remembered.
Constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion.
You keep talking about all these things you're going to do and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago and you guys did nothing.